Interesting. Oh, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Waffle Ladders. You ever confidently repeat something you learned in 7th grade, and then someone says, yeah, that's not actually true. And suddenly your entire education feels like a 12-year-long daycare session. You know, history is messy. It's written by winners, translated by tired monks, and simplified for children who are actively eating glue. Today, we're climbing the ladder of 10 historical facts that might be completely wrong.
Okay, but if this video ruins Abraham Lincoln or dinosaurs, I'm out.
Lincoln is mostly fine. Dinosaurs, we'll talk later. It's time. Let's climb the ladder. Number 10. Vikings wore horned helmets. You've seen it everywhere. Big mustaches, fur, massive horned helmets.
Wait, let's put that, there we go. That's better.
Okay. Except there is zero archaeological evidence that Viking warriors wore horned helmets in battle. Actual Viking helmets found in Scandinavia were practical iron caps designed for survival, not theatrical intimidation. The horn look likely became popular in the 1800s thanks to costume designers for Wagnerian operas who wanted them to look dramatic. So Vikings didn't look like demons, they looked like practical Scandinavians.
So more like IKEA warriors.
Yes, but with big axes. Number 9, Napoleon was super short. Pop culture paints Napoleon Bonaparte as tiny and furious. In reality, he was around 5'6" to 5'7". In modern measurement, average height for a Frenchman in the early 1800s. So why the diss? The confusion came from French inches being longer than British inches, and what was going on with Italians. And because British and French weren't best buddies, the British propaganda machine was in full force, and political cartoons exaggerated his size. And if you repeat something enough, it becomes true. He didn't have Napoleon complex, he had British newspaper complex.
So he wasn't short.
Nope.
He might have been the first victim of media character assassination.
Maybe. Number 8, we only use 10% of our brain. This one refuses to die. The idea likely came from early neuroscientists, noting that certain brain areas had functions not yet understood. That morphed into, see, 90% is unused. Modern brain imaging shows we use virtually all regions of our brain, just at different times and intensities. If 90% were inactive, brain damage wouldn't really matter as much. Guess what? It very much does. Number 7, the Great Wall of China is visible from space. You probably heard this in elementary school. The Great Wall of China is the only man-made object visible from space. Not true. From low Earth orbit, astronauts claim it's extremely difficult to see with the naked eye because it's narrow. It's about 20 feet in thickness. It blends with the terrain. It's similar in color to the landscape. So physics. From 200 miles, seeing something that is 20 feet thick is like trying to see a human hair from 150 meters. Good luck. Highways and cities are often much easier to spot. So they built 13,000 miles of wall, and it's basically camouflaged.
Marketing team really oversold that one.
Yes, they did. Number 6, George Washington had wooden teeth. He most certainly did not. Washington had severe dental problems and wore dentures, but they were made from animal teeth. Hippopotamus ivory, actually. Human teeth, metal alloys, and ivory bases. These all melded together to give him what he used. They stained over time, which may have created the wooden myth. I mean, think about it. Do you really think wood could be used to chew anything other than mush?
Wait, human teeth? Like from dead people?
Hey, history is not always pretty.
I hope he at least asked nicely.
Well, they say he never told a lie, so we can probably assume politeness. Number 5, Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake." That's the famous quote, "Let them eat cake." The actual translation is brioche, so not what Americans think of as cake, but still dismissive of the populace. Here's the thing, There's no reliable evidence she ever said it. The phrase appears in Jean-Jacques Rousseau's writings, years before she became queen. So this was likely just political propaganda, a way to portray her as out of touch and cruel during economic crisis. Imagine being remembered for a quote you never said.
So it's basically 18th century AI.
Good comparison. Number 4, Edison invented the light bulb. This one is aggressively oversimplified. Did Thomas Edison patent a practical incandescent light bulb in 1879? Well, yes, he did. Did he invent the first light bulb? No. Long before Edison, Humphrey Davy demonstrated electric arc lamps in the early 1800s. Warren de la Rue experimented with platinum filament bulbs in the 1840s. And Joseph Swan developed a working incandescent bulb in the 1870s and was lighting homes in England before Edison's version became dominant. In fact, Edison and Swan later formed a joint company in Britain because their patents overlapped. What Edison really did was improve filament longevity, develop a high resistance filament, build a complete electrical distribution system, commercialize it at scale. He didn't invent the idea, he perfected, patented, and marketed the ecosystem, which to be fair is still a big deal.
So Edison didn't invent the light bulb, but he did invent the business model.
Yes, he was less Eureka and more LLC. Number 3, Einstein failed math. You've heard it, Einstein failed math as a kid. Nope. He excelled in mathematics from an early age. By age 12, he had taught himself advanced algebra and geometry. The myth likely came from confusion about Swiss grading systems, which aren't equivalent to American scoring. Stories about him failing an entrance exam in non-math subjects. So failing algebra does not mean you're secretly a genius.
Well, there goes my entire redemption arc.
Yeah, that movie script is done. Number 2, Salem burned witches. When we picture the Salem witch trials, we imagine bonfires. You kill a witch by burning them, right? Yeah, that's a movie thing, not a real thing. In reality, in 1692, Salem witch trials resulted in 200 people accused and 19 people hanged, and 1 man pressed to death. Several were imprisoned, and 4 or 5 of them died in the cells. Burning at the stake was more common in European witch trials. Salem's tragedy was horrific enough without adding special effects. History doesn't need CGI or Hollywood. Number 1, the Dark Ages were dark and backward. You've probably heard that after Rome fell, Europe descended into 1,000 years of ignorance and mud. The term Dark Ages was popularized later by Renaissance thinkers who wanted to emphasize how enlightened they were compared to the past. In reality, the medieval period saw the rise of universities like Bologna and Oxford, advances in agriculture like the heavy plow and crop rotation, Gothic architecture, which is beautiful, preservation of classical texts by monasteries, and innovations in law and governance. Was it turbulent? Well, yes. Was it a civilization blackout? No.
So medieval Europe wasn't just peasants living in pig sites?
No, it was a combination of dark and light.
Well, they did have cool hats.
You gotta say that. Well, there you have it. And here's the real takeaway. History isn't never accurate. It's always filtered through politics, through translation, through national pride, through simplification for 12-year-olds. The deeper we dig, the more nuance we find. That's not scary. That's fascinating.
So what you're saying is...
Be curious, double check, and maybe don't build your personality around a single textbook sentence. Comment below and like us. And by the way, what fact did you learn in school that turned out to be wrong? As always, keep climbing. And in the morning, I'm making waffles.